Hello everyone, Corrie here, coming in to record the energy update for this weekend on June, 14th, 15th, somewhere around there. So I recorded this yesterday in increments. A storm came in, it just rolled in, the thunder was happening, the wind came up, the cat got tangled up, like the noise, everything was just astronomical. I took the video inside, finished recording inside, and of course all you could hear was Sid and her snoring, which is totally okay and acceptable. For those who don't know, Sid is my small little old Yerkie who loves to snore really loud and just makes lots of noises. But I recorded it, and then I spent, I don't know how long, splicing together all the little pieces and putting it together because I really wanted to use the video. And then I woke up really early this morning and had this sudden urge that I need to really clean out the videos and the pictures in my phone and really wipe out a lot of selfies, like individual pictures that are labeled selfies that were in my phone. And in the meantime, I deleted all of the videos that I had used, and then I had them put in the movie maker and recorded and put together the video. So I really took that to be a sign that I was putting in a lot of effort for something that really wasn't worth using. And I continued my morning into deep prayer and contemplation and really stepping in with the angelic realm and inviting God in. And I learned this, so many years ago in the beginning of my healing journey, and it's the power of your humility. And I write and teach a lot, and a lot of my writings really truly come from the place of not fearing my humility, staying in my place of humility. Those moments and times of embarrassment, shame, those moments in time in our lives of where we get where we stumble and fall in life, or we do things that we live with, which becomes the karma to us. And the thing about karma, and when you're working with karma, is that when we do wrong to another, is their lives may go on and they may succeed, they may do well, or maybe not. But what action and the behavior that you had used, that you had taken, and what was said and what was done, and that stays with you. And even when you think it hasn't, it shows up in attitude, it shows up in guilt, it shows up in shame, it shows up in keep trying to be better and do better. And so that becomes the karma that's on somebody. Now, in other times, other way of looking at the karma is that when it comes to karma, is that the karma that another has to live with sometimes is always living with the fear of being caught, the fear of being found out for the wrongdoings. And so they live with that fear of always looking over their shoulders, and always wondering when and how that's going to happen. Now, that imprint, that thought that the abuser or the person who hurts another leaves on, that they leave that same kind of energy with another. And you may feel like you are in that shaming yourself. It's like you're always looking over your shoulder, and it's because you can't trust. And you really can't trust. You just can't trust, and then it's hard to even trust yourself, and you create an enemy within yourself. So karma runs deep. Behavior patterns, attitude, all runs deep. Why is it such a part of spirituality? Why is it such a part of everything we do in coaching, in modern day mystic work, and all of that? Is because it is a part of what it reveals to us. It reveals the mask and how we mask our lives. So this energy this weekend does have this real sun energy to it, and the sun is our ego, and our ego is about protecting us. And for myself, in this prayer this morning, and going deep into this prayer and back to the humility part of it, and why I really worked with humility so deep, was I realized how hard and how I had tortured myself for a lot of years. I'd been very, very, very unkind to myself. And I had not treated myself with the utmost respect and dignity in areas where people would never have seen. It was false confidence, false ego, or false courage, false strength. It was that rage against the machine kind of energy. It was just raw, right? But it was fear, and it was so strongly based fear. And when I really started to really dive deep into my healing, and my healing work goes all the way back to Doreen Virtue and Angel University, which was based, I think, somehow out of Australia. Like, it was years ago, and I had taken past life healing after I had had several past life healing sessions. And those past life healing sessions that I had had revealed a lot of truth to me in this lifetime, not just other lifetimes, but of this lifetime for me. But there was a lot of really buried things that they only come up when we're ready for them to come. And so what I learned along the way was the power of stepping into humility and honoring and not running from the humility was to sit there in silence to gain the wisdom from the experience. And by sitting in that humility, it gave me the opportunity to then open up to when the full surrender was taking place in the humility, is when the divine God, creator, source steps in and embodies us, and we feel it come in because somebody or something comes to pick us up, something within ourselves, and we are ultimately the savior of ourselves on whatever level. No matter what choice, we choose to be that savior. And so with this egoic energy that I'm feeling for this weekend, I really recognize in my own journey how, that power of a voice to be feel like we're screaming to be heard sometimes. And this morning, in my deep contemplation, was I finally reached that little girl in the closet. And I've done this so many times, and I've thought I've picked her up, I've thought I found her, but I found the little girl who was scared and hiding in the closet, and she was afraid to scream, and it was, don't scream, somebody will hear you. Don't scream, somebody will hear you. And I felt myself pick her up finally and bring that part of the inner child healing all the way up, and there's so many stories that came, and so many openings, but the biggest thing was that need to always be, I guess, how do I want to say this? They're using my stories again. I swore I was never using my stories again. I thought I was done writing this, speaking of this, talking about this. So I think I want to bring it back to karma, because it was the essence that I think my karmatic journey was to finally know that I could be heard, that it was okay, that I am being heard, that I am being seen, but that little girl in the closet, I stuffed her there, right? I put her there to keep her safe. And I placed her there because she was soft, because she's very soft. She's very shy, actually. she's very soft-spoken. She's very gentle, but she's mighty. She has a temper, but she was always very beautiful. And that part of the beauty of that younger version, it wasn't just in looks, it was in her light. And finding that and navigating through that light and through this journey was recognizing that I call upon the angels. I work with Archangel Raziel all the time. I work with all the angels, but I work with those angels and I call them in to connect to spirit, open up spirit world, to bring us into the inner caves for other people. It's just like when I was at Oracle Palooza with Colette a few years ago, and when I met the Oracle, she said, why do you come sit at the bench just to get messages for other people, but you never sit at the bench for you? and it was such a truth. And I realized that even working with the angels I was working with the angels and calling in the angels just so I could receive messages for others, just so I could help the world, just so I could be there for the others, but not to take me to the places I needed to go, unless they were in my channeled writings and they would speak to me involuntarily during my channel sketches, and through Paint Me Beautiful. And Paint Me Beautiful is a painting series that I've created. But I know this is long-winded and it is a bit about me. Sorry. But it was a real, it felt like a real sense of finally leaving the fight. And that's what it feels like. Are we ready to finally leave the fight? Are we finally ready to leave the battlefield? To stop the battles, the fights, that sense of feeling like we have to carry the old karma and the old energy from lifetimes and other lifetimes. And as I could experience this morning, it's like, do I really want to cause somebody else pain, or do I want to set them free? They've already walked in their pain enough years. They carry that pain. They live with that pain. They live with that story. Where do I want to go? And what I had asked for was guide me into a life of peace and prosperity. And I don't just mean riches, but I mean where I prosper as myself, as my truth. As at 53 years old, I'm done struggling, and I'm done just barely getting by in life. And it was only through seeing that little girl and picking up that little girl and seeing her worthiness could I truly see. So it's only when we can finally see, and only when we can finally get to that place of where we don't jump from the humility and we allow ourselves the time, and that's where the grace, so when we can fall from grace and know that grace will never let us fall away, but when we can fall from our stories, when we can fall from those convictions we hold so true, when we can fall from that egoic stories that we tell ourselves and heal the ego, because it is here to be a part of our prospering. It's here to be a part of our peace. It's here to be a part of our projection and direction in life. And the more that we are away from that, and the more that we move, sun is now coming out, the more that we move ourselves farther into masking and masquerading and playing out these character identities that we've created, the farther away from that girl in the closet we get. We forget her. We forget that she was there. We forget, and we're like, oh shit, I forgot I put her there. And so she will wait for us to come back. She's waiting, always waiting for us. She's waiting for us to do something that is right. She's waiting for us to find our right voice. She's waiting for us to stop self-abusing, self-criticizing, self-judging. She's waiting for us to see the truth, to speak the truth, to be the truth, to no longer hide. She's waiting to be the voice through the adult, but not through the tantrum of the child, not through the fear of the inner child. That part is dead. The past is not here. But the remnants of the karma that we have carried so far, how do we free ourselves of that? Is that we free the child. We free the child. And when we free the child, we free ourselves. And we bring that child on that journey with us. And so it's like the sun card in tarot, right? There is a happiness. We're not here to learn how to exist in the suffering. We're not here to learn survival skills because life is hard and wear a helmet. We're here to exist in those higher frequencies, which I spoke about in my weekly channel message, of joy, and learn that we're here to know joy. We're here to know happiness, and that suffering and struggling and misery is not the way towards our fulfillment of living our lives. And to be free of that, to free ourselves of that destiny and that journey that is our so-called human destiny, while also telling ourselves we're happy, is to stop turning a blind eye. Stop turning a blind eye and have the courage to face and see the things around us, to face and see the things in our own lives. Doesn't mean we become a warrior for everything and everyone. It doesn't mean that we become someone's superhero. And stop trying to save people who don't want to be saved. Stop trying to stop trying to push your agenda onto other people. People only awaken when they're ready. We go through layers and layers and layers. Show love, show kindness, show that compassion. And when I could reach in this morning in that place of that little girl, I'm like, I really felt that need to really clear out those photos and delete that energy and delete a lot of the stories, and not that it's not there, but to end the karma of what I thought I was chasing and who and what I thought I was going for. And I think that's why when I wrote Wine and Chips, I wrote Wine and Chips out of the ludicrousy of life. I created a character, but we all create a character. And so reading that book may make you feel angry. You may feel like shit, like this book don't make sense. Well, why does our life make so much sense when it was never really, when we created a character to live it, when we create that persona to be enough or to be some sort of celebrity. So everything that we see, everything that we witness, social media, everywhere, we're seeing what people want us to see, but they're presenting a character, which we're always going to somewhat do. But the more that it is embedded in the authenticity of the original plan, the more true to nature, the more true to our natural existence it becomes. And so there was nothing in the script or the plan that little girl would have been aware of that would give her a heads up and a reason to hide in her closet other than what was projected on. And that was when she learned the hard lessons of life, that the world is filled with unsafe moments, but filled with hurt people that hurt people, filled with hurt energy. And that, but it wasn't my destiny to always live in the struggle, in the sense of being there or afraid. So of always looking over my shoulder, never feeling at peace, afraid of authority, afraid of people, afraid of things, afraid of being attacked. And no matter how much I'm afraid of it, I keep showing up. So there's something naturally, innately, which is so true to the character of myself, that is courageous, that is strong, that does keep showing up. But I had to remember that little girl in the closet. And you always got to go back to that little essence of yourself and really hold that innocence. Because the beauty of the maiden mother crown is innocence, nurturing, and wisdom. Where do we find that? In humility. And humility becomes our greatest teacher. So if there's anything I can share with you this weekend, is truly about humility and the power of not running from humility. If you fall, you slip. Stay down long enough to hear the wisdom. Stop screaming. Stop screaming about how it didn't happen, and stop screaming about how wrong it is, and start looking at and listening to the real truth. It happened, and shit happens, and things happen, and everything is happening. But we can turn our lives around, and we can turn the world around. It's a choice. But as long as we keep supporting and nurturing all of the ideal of what we believe and see, and that we think we know somebody that we really don't know, and we support that. And I can say that on a political level. Look at the money and dollars that go into supporting a political leader who sells you a story, it's believed, but then when all this other stuff is revealed and reveals itself, is that we can turn the blind eye just because we have an agenda. We just want what we want. We want specific things. Well, that's how we become victims. That's how that little monster inside of another becomes a bigger monster. It's because that need, that desire to get what they want, to fulfill the hurt or the so-called missing link, means that sometimes they take from another. Energy vampiring, right? It's like, so if we can really truly look at that on a bigger scale, explore that on a bigger scale, we can really bring about change, because ultimately it's easy to turn someone into a friend or an enemy. It's easy to change your character and become anything. It's easy to look at a celebrity and think you know them because they played a part in a movie, and then want to become them. James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, right? Like, but there was a person behind all of that. But there was also a hurt person, there was also a history, there was also life. So then there was the hurt person, or then there was the story of their lives, but then there was the original. And when we can get to that original and get back to that original, and we can really truly nurture what needs to be nurtured in the healthy ways and not in the healthy ways, I believe that's how we begin to really truly clear all that happens within on the conscious level of our, or an unconscious level, that begins the isms and the addictive habits and behaviors and the hurtful. And so if there's anything of this weekend to really take and look at is the hurtfulness, and to look at how we all have that potential to hurt another, and to cause that hurt to another, whether intentionally, unintentionally, but how, you know, what we've left hidden in the closet, what we need to take out of the closet. So cleaning out the closet, which I was talking about in my original message yesterday, was not what I thought it was. It wasn't about cleaning up. It was about finding what's hidden so deep. And so free the child and you'll free your life, right? And there's just so many things on a bigger scale in this world that we need to look at with that perspective and that view. So that's what I have for you. I made it through this video, and the sun is glowing on me. My little wisdom lines are here. So just a little bit of contemplation for this weekend. It is not really channeled from, they're using the stories, it was channeled yesterday, it's in my writings, but this conversation is coming from Corrie. This conversation is coming directly from me having this conversation with you. Back to Wine and Chips for a moment, is in that book, you know, I wrote about the character, and I'm like, this is not my story, this is Rose's. You're going to think it's my story, but it's not. It's actually Rose's story. Well, that essence of a lot of things in your life you think is your story is a part of the aspect of the identities you created along the way, the characters you played along the way. But is it the character of today? Is it the person that's in your life and in your stories today? And when you can really look at it in a new perspective, you can also see how, you know, you may have had people in your lives who were super, super good people. And I mean like heavenly, divine people. And you could admire them and you could see how great they were. But you could never imagine that that could be you, because you carried so much of how you were not the good kid, or you're not the good person, or how you're a rebel, or how you're a pain in the ass, or how you're too loud, or you're too this, or you're too that. But you admire the softness of somebody else. What you're admiring in somebody else is in you. It does exist in you. And what you despise in another, sometimes we may have a little bit of that in us, but it doesn't mean it ever comes to life. It doesn't mean it shows up the same way. But we are imprinted, and thoughts become beliefs. So when another's thoughts becomes words that is spoken to you, it becomes what you believe. And so the more we become consciously aware of our language, our words, and how we speak to ourselves and to others, the more that we can bring about the change. Animals are great teachers to teach us how to treat each other, how to treat ourselves and others. They're innocent, they're pure innocence, and they need us. So was the child. Innocence. They're innocent until something robs them of innocence. But it doesn't mean they're still not innocent. It means that somebody came in and tried to take that innocence and tried to rob them of that innocence. And then if they never got the nurturing that they needed around it, or the support, or the voice to speak up, or to stand up for them, or if they're too afraid to speak, that follows through to adulthood. That follows all the way through. Nobody ever asked children their opinions. Nobody ever asked children what they want. Ever look at a divorce with parents breaking up, children. Look at families around a table sitting down. Who speaks, you know, especially back in the day, not so much now, Who asks a child how they feel? How many kids, sorry, that's Sid again. How many kids were told you weren't allowed at the table? That children weren't allowed to be seen. If company was coming, children had to go hide, and had to go hide in a room because they weren't allowed to be seen. What does that teach children? What does that teach us as adults? We learn that, and that is such disempowering behavioral patterns and habits that we have cultivated into our cultures. That women are to hide, that women are not to be seen, because it's built into a belief. Does it mean it's right? No. How does it impact the culture? How does it impact our lives? How does it affect us? These are all things that are coming up now, and these are all the things that hold such nuggets of truth. And you know, they can be defended, they can be validated because of beliefs, because you can read a verse, you can find this, you can find that. But you know what doesn't speak? You know what is speaking the real truth? Is your body, how it feels to hear that again, how it feels to be in that again, how it feels to live not in peace, to be always living somewhat fearful, scarcity, scared, fear running your life, misery, torturing yourself, still blaming yourself for a self that doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't know, I could go on, but that's where I want to end it. I'm going to put an ending to it right here, and just say, sit with that humility for a little bit, and then close your eyes and sit underneath the sun and just let that sun enter all the way in. And letting that sun enter all the way in, even if there's no sun, let the light enter all the way in, into your body, and be embodied by the divine, by God, by source, by creator, by whatever it is for you. Sun, moon, stars, doesn't matter to me. And just let it embody you, and let the good in. And that's letting the light, that's letting the love, that's letting radiance and bliss and joy into your body. And then begins to connect to the best of us, and to the beautiful parts of ourselves that we thought weren't that beautiful, or the parts that we hid away. Let the beauty shine, and the more that we can do that, the more that we'll be able to step into peace and an imperfect world, because it's never meant to be perfect, and neither are we. We're human. I send you so much love. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll speak with you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.